Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Last Wrestling Podcast, because if I have a wrestling podcast, I get to talk about the wrestling show that I just went to. Ladies and gentlemen, AEW Dynamite in Toronto just finished a couple of hours ago. It took me that long to get home, and these are my immediate thoughts immediately after coming back from the arena. And, wow, first thing I need to say, TTC, get your shit together. The TTC is the Toronto Transit Commission, I think it's called, is the public transit service in the Toronto area, and they suck sometimes. When everything's working fine, they're amazing. When anything breaks, they don't know how to compensate. So I was supposed to take a subway to Union Station, which is the big downtown hub, and I was going to take a streetcar out to the arena. Very Toronto thing to do, very Canadian thing to do, take the Toronto streetcar. Wasn't working, and the bus got lost in traffic. It was painful. Wound up paying an extra few bucks to take something called the GO train to a one freaking stop instead of, walk for an hour in the increasingly spotty rain. Made it to the arena about 6:30-ish. With a bell time of 7 p.m. Got through the security. Here's the thing that I didn't think about. One of the most over groups in AEW right now is the Acclaimed with the scissoring, and lots of fans are bringing giant scissors to hold up in the crowd. And yeah, okay, when they're made clearly out of paper and tinfoil, that's one thing. But if you're bringing giant plastic scissors that from a distance look real, security's gonna have a problem with that. And that's a problem with the whole gimmick, which they may have just addressed on this week's episode. We'll get to that momentarily. This is not going to be a blow-for-blow review of the show. Other better wrestling YouTube channels are going to be talking about this, so check out Wrestle Talk, check out AEW's own site. They'll be posting a lot of the highlights. But I'm going to take you through the live experience. Found my seat eventually because I came in on the wrong side of the building. I was up in the second deck opposite the hard cams, so hypothetically maybe you could have seen me, but generally, if you're trying to get on television, that's cool. If you want to get a good view, honestly, try to sit on the same side as the hard cam. That way the wrestlers are going to be playing to your side of the arena. Tony Khan is a genius. A lot of people are going to give me shit about that, and bring it on. I don't care. Because running the Coca-Cola Coliseum, which I had never heard of before. I've only lived in Toronto for about a year, but I'd never heard of this place. It's not the biggest arena in town. That would be either the Rogers Centre or the Scotiabank Arena, which is the hockey arena. And yeah, this is apparently the minor league arena that feeds to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Actually, something I noticed inside the building was they had a big sign that said something like, making Leafs or minting Leafs since 1927, and then all around the top of the top deck, they had the Toronto blue maple leaf of the Toronto Maple Leafs with the names of presumably players from the local minor league team that had actually gone up to play for the Leafs. So, cool for them. Not a bad seat in the house, not an obstructed view in the house, and they sold out. Or if they didn't, they got really, really damn close. I could not see a single. Once everybody filed in, so if you're watching Dark Elevation, which was filmed before Dynamite, no, there was going to be a lot of empty seats there. But if you actually watch the main show, no, there was not an empty seat to be seen. So they sold out this arena. I don't think this is probably not $1 million house. From what I understand, there was a little over 7,000 seats available. Every seat was over $100, so they earned more than 700 grand, probably closer to 850 to maybe $900,000. This is Canadian dollars, of course. I don't think they broke $1 million with this. If they did, they might have mentioned it. They will certainly break $1 million over the two nights because they will be filming Friday night Rampage tomorrow, Thursday night, in the same arena. Which I will be going to, so expect another one of these unscripted videos at that point. Made it to the seat with a few minutes before the start of Elevation, and one of the well, God, I forget her name now. The female announcer came out, warmed up the crowd a little bit. Everybody, people who were over at Dark Elevation. Um, there was a woman named Jody who I think was the second match filmed. Whether there'll be a second match on the show, I don't know. She was apparently a local favorite. I'd never heard of her, but I don't watch. I don't go to a lot of wrestling. This was actually my first wrestling event in Canada since I left Japan. So I went from the Budokan to the Scotiabank Arena. Sorry, not the Scotiabank, the Coca-Cola Coliseum. And honestly, comparable in that they're perfect arenas for wrestling. Jody was extremely popular. She had a match with the fallen goddess Athena, and Athena was booed out of the damn building, and it was mostly a case of, well, we just like her more than you. No offense. Which is actually something I screamed at the top of my lungs, so that makes it on Dark Elevation. I'm moderately internet famous. Yay me. Please like and subscribe. I hate doing this YouTube stuff. We did see a debut on Dark Elevation, and that was the Bollywood Boys. They showed up as a tag team against the Gun Club. The Guns. And I admit, I have a voice that projects. So when there's a lull in the action, I'll try to say something funny. It's not going to make it on TV, but it is something that's going to hopefully amuse people around me, and it did. So for the Guns, when they were in a lull, I just yelled, "Your dad's wrestling on Dynamite and you're not," which kind of a burn, I guess. But I don't know. And I boo the heels. I'm a goody two shoes. I'm a babyface in real life. I try to be. So I will cheer the faces and boo the heels. And I enjoy booing the heels, and I will hurl a certain amount of professional abuse at them. Yeah, I mean nothing by it. This is in character. This is what they should be hoping to get, I think. I'm not going to say anything personal. I'm not going to say anything offensive. I think the closest I got was with Pac, the bastard Pac, when I yelled Newcastle upon Tyne sucks, which, to be fair, anyway. So they had several matches for Dark Elevation. A few hours later, the only thing I really remember was Jody getting cheered and Aubrey Edwards getting cheered. Some people give Aubrey Edwards shit for having a personality. Screw you. She's interesting, she's entertaining, and this is an entertainment program. Yes, it's professional wrestling. Yeah, yes, you can take that seriously. Yes, you can take that too seriously. But it is supposed to be entertaining, and the referee is allowed to have a personality. The referee is a character on the show. Deal with it. And, they did introduce the announcers. They had Paul White. They had Riccaboni from Ring of Honor, and they had actually Daddy Magic, one half of 2.0, and former Chikara Campeones de Parejas, and one of my favorite acts from Chikara. The chants of Daddy Magic, clap, 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 went on all night, anytime he was shown, either on the screen or in person. So 2.0, 3.0, whatever they're calling themselves, Jericho Appreciation Society, absolutely over. And yeah, basically, Canada was over here. Anyone from Canada, for the most part, except for Christian, we'll get to him in a minute, was extremely over. Probably the biggest reaction of the night was MJF, and it was a babyface reaction, and that's a problem because this guy is supposed to be the top heel on your show, and he's getting cheered. Now, you want to say Canada is Bizarro Land? Okay, it kind of is sometimes, especially with Canadian talent. We'll talk about Chris Jericho in a second. But yeah, MJF, right? They've got two heels that are getting cheered. They're getting big babyface reactions. One is MJF, the other is Britt Baker. That's two of their top villains getting heroes welcomes. So they need to walk a tightrope with that. At this point with MJF, it's a case of, okay, we're going to boo you because we know the score, we're playing along with you because we like you. That's not heel heat. That is a massive problem for AEW. Dynamite. Before Dynamite started, we got a little greeting from Tony Khan, who came out saying, basically, With Tony Khan, I'm guessing some of this is boilerplate, but I also get the idea that he really believes it when he's saying that that they're happy they were able to bring AEW to Toronto. It's been a long time. They wanted to come here for a while. Sorry it took so long, and basically welcoming us to the show. And he either got a positive reaction or a null reaction. Nobody was booing him, at least not that I could tell. But a lot of people weren't cheering him either. He did make another appearance at the end of the night, I believe after the cameras had already stopped rolling. I have not actually seen the telecast yet, so I don't know when this stuff stopped, but it did at one point. Uh, Show starts. Let's just go through the show. The graphic I'm using just to give you something to look at is the main event. So let's just start with the main event. Absolutely amazing. I have a personal love of Orange Cassidy because I remember Fire Ant. I was a diehard Chikara fan for many years, more than a decade, and as you know, if you've seen my Sayonara Chikara video, my Goodbye Chikara video, yeah, I really put a lot of my heart into that. So check that out if you want. It's on the channel somewhere. But I got to see Fire Ant win a singles championship belt. I don't care that he's not Fire Ant anymore. He's Orange Cassidy. I I can live with the fact that it's the AEW Failed Geography Championship and not the Grand Championship of Chikara. And also, we now have an excuse, and again, I don't know if this aired. I don't know if this aired. After the main event, when Orange Cassidy wins the match, he gets on the microphone and basically says, "You know, I don't really like carrying things, so bring out my backpack." And Chris Statlander makes her return, gets a big positive reaction. She comes out with a backpack, and Orange Cassidy puts his belt in his backpack and just slings it over his shoulder and casually walks away. Or he would, except that Tony Khan comes out to congratulate him. The fans are going nuts, and everybody's happy. He actually spent a lot of time after the show was technically over, as the arena was filing out. He was going up the ramp area, the aisle area. He was walking that aisle and saying hello to people and taking selfies and really being a good guy who I believe really appreciates everything that he's got and everything that he has earned in professional wrestling. Also, fuck you, Jim Cornette. But this is an excuse to fix that belt. I like the idea of having a touring international championship. That's a great idea. Orange Cassidy is a great character to send to promotions all over the world. But you gotta fix the flags on the belt. I spent most of my adult life in Japan, and I'm perfectly fine with Japan's flag being taken off of that belt because no part of Japan touches the Atlantic Ocean. So, by just putting it in the backpack, if he pulls it out of the backpack for his next title defense and it's a different center plate or the flags have been changed or something or it's a new belt, brilliant. Go for it. I won't care. I won't mention it. We'll just all sort of wink, nod, and admit never talk about the retcon again. The theme of the whole night was we're going to cheer the Canadians. The biggest problem with this is people were cheering Chris Jericho. I don't know if the announcers tried to cover for it because Jericho's the heel. He's the Ring of Dishonor champion. Jericho is a heel who thinks he's a babyface. He thinks he deserves the adulation of the fans even when he's cheating. And he was getting the adulation of the fans and he was playing into it. So I don't know what the announcers said to cover this, but I hope they said something. A couple of details on the ROH title match. I like that it started early. Hypothetically, it could have gone close to or at the entire hour of the time limit. Obviously didn't, but could have. I had tried to talk myself into thinking that Bryan could win, but realistically, this run of establishing Jericho as anti-ROH and therefore establishing to the AEW audience what ROH stands for, if they weren't previously ROH fans, that that's something they need to keep going. So as much as I was kind of hoping to see the American Dragon win the Ring of Honor Championship, that would have been such a cool thing to be a part of. I'm cool with Orange Cassidy winning his first singles title. That's that's barely a thumbs up cool. Let's see what else. Other things that Christian. I mentioned Christian earlier. Christian was the only Canadian who managed to get himself booed. And there was a wonderful chant of "Edge is better," clap, 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 that brought him down to the ring. That was fun. Yeah. So Christian, while you can debate how useful he is to AEW, he has got great ring psychology. He's got great promo psychology, and he's someone that other people in that locker room should pay attention to. Let's see. Scissor Me Daddy. Oh, that is over. And oh, people were pissed when the lawyer showed up. I mean, people are usually pissed when the lawyer shows up, but still. Now, I don't really like that they're pulling this "we got to the patent office first" shtick twice in a row. They did this with the Varsity Athletes, Varsity Blondes thing, and now they're doing it with "we own the concept of scissoring in professional wrestling." You're repeating yourself, and that's not good. There's so much you can do with an evil lawyer, especially an evil, incompetent lawyer, because we've got months of establishment that the Acclaimed were using scissoring as their catchphrase and their gimmick, but no. And you ain't stopping the fans. We were scissoring. People were scissoring up and down that arena on the way in, on the way out, on the bus, on the train. It was brilliant. There was serious scissoring going on. I scissored so many strangers last night. Please don't take that one out of context. Or please don't tell my boyfriend. I enjoyed the women's match, the women's tag team match, because I got a chance to cheer Hikaru Shida. I also got a chance to cheer for Emi Sakura earlier in the show. That was, I believe, on Dark Elevation. And I'm going to cheer for the Japanese talent, and I'm going to cheer in Japanese. Maybe they can hear me, maybe they can't, but I want them to know they're appreciated. I'm going to tell it to them in their own language. Let's see. Jungle Boy Luchasaurus was a good was a good match. It was a great starting match. Some people were asking why wasn't that being saved for the pay-per-view? Well, it can be because there was enough cheating involved. It was an emphatic finish, but there was still quite a bit of bullshit involved. Though I think eventually Jungle Boy needs to come out on top. Um, the feud between the Acclaimed and Swerve Strickland, that can continue because hopefully this was clear on television. Somebody had something on the ropes at the end of that match. That's your hook to have a rematch at some point. Other than that, yeah, that's about it. And this has already gone 21 minutes, so I'm going to try and shut up now. One criticism, big criticism. You gotta up your merch game, AEW. I know there's shipping costs involved, but there was exactly 5 items for sale at the merch stand, and none of them were wrestler specific. There was a Blackpool Combat Club shirt, an Elite Canada shirt. The Elite aren't even working here anymore, apparently. There was the AEW logo with the Toronto branding. I actually picked one of those up for myself. There was a hoodie I didn't quite see, and there was a generic AEW Dynamite I Was There shirt, and that was the only thing that had a picture of a wrestler on it. And it was like the whole roster with MJF dead center. So, but yeah, the merch game sucks at the live events. They really need to up their game on that. Other than that, John Moxley, super over. MJF, as I said, the biggest pop of the night. We'll see how they pull it off tomorrow. Thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, all of that, and I'm going to see if I can edit this down to under 20 minutes, maybe. If it is, you'll have seen it from the thing. Good night. Sean Spears is back. Sean Spears is also back. He got a really good reaction when people realized that FTR were saying 10, 10, 10, and literally, 2, 3 hours after the end of the show, I've completely forgotten he existed. So, not a good sign. Okay, we're actually done now. Goodbye.